So I think a couple common ones that might be thrown out are it's such a small community that it is like really easy to connect to the people that you need to, which is also can be a con. It's a very small community, and I mean, there were neighbors that wanted to come in and open a bubble tea shop next door. One of the principal partners was somebody who we've interacted with in business in the past couple of years since starting up. But we had to bid them out for our own interests, and that can be tough, but that's all part of being a small community. The other one is they call Hawaii kind of the gateway to Asia, or it's a unique position where we're geographically located. And that's been really cool. At our Montserrat location, over 50% of probably over 70% during the summer of our customers are from off-island. So we always have like new customers, new people coming in. It's a very transient place, and I think that can be a huge advantage to doing business in Hawaii. Another huge pro is there's great surf. There's great ways to forget about business and relax, which is one of the main reasons I chose to come back to Hawaii to start a business. It's a huge just lifestyle choice. I quickly realized after graduating that my workplace was not only going to be how I made a living, but also who I was going to be spending the most time with and where I lived. And I thought, who not better to spend time with than my three best friends who make me a better person, and why not live in Hawaii? So
there are a lot of pros and a lot of cons of being an entrepreneur in Hawaii. I think it's a very entrepreneurial culture, and so I think you run into a lot of other people who have a lot of business ideas and have passion to do those business ideas, and that's really neat. It really just helps you to maintain that fire in the belly that entrepreneurs need to have, because you meet cool people who are doing amazing projects like you guys are doing, and it just keeps you inspired, which is really neat. So that sort of culture exists in San Francisco and a lot of other places. Hawaii has that for sure. I don't know how easy it would be to be as entrepreneurial if you live in Wichita, and I don't really know Wichita, but I'm just assuming maybe it's not quite as like tech focused and entrepreneurial as some of these other places. So those are some of the positives. I think some of the negatives are that exceptionally high cost of living. So when you try to pay people to do a job, you have to incorporate that into, okay, well, we have to be able to charge enough so that I can pay my people well enough that they can live here and they can pay their rent. So that's kind of difficult. I think if we were in a different place, we could probably get away with paying people less, and that would, hopefully help keep margins a little bit better. I think there's a lot of support systems here in Hawaii, so I think that's a very positive thing. There's multiple incubators now that are helping companies get started. I think that's exceptionally helpful, but I think the investment community is exceptionally challenging. So I think it's one of those things that everybody is lamenting brain drain. They want to help create local jobs, local businesses, but it's really hard to get investment here. It is just not. It's very much relationship based, and you got to, it takes a lot of time to sort of build that thing. But then at the same time, social impacts don't always translate into what people want to invest in. People still want to see a hockey stick, and communicating the fact that a social impact business is never really truly going to be a hockey stick, it's tough. And then investors are like, well, there's this other thing I could make this much more money, and so that's frustrating. I wish there was an impact investing community here that would really focus a little bit more on the social impact side of businesses locally and creating those local jobs.
Hawaii is a great place to do business because we're isolated out here. Things take a little bit more time to reach us. It used to be a couple years. You could kind of follow a trend and see what's happening. I think it's much shorter now. I think it's probably, maybe 6 months. You've got to act a lot quicker. but I think that there's a lot of opportunities here. The the cons are the costs of everything. It's very expensive to do business here. Um, the business climate, the way that the city kind of runs permits and things like that, it just makes it very difficult sometimes to get things done. Um, and you know there's a good and bad with people kind of having a laid back attitude here. It's great attitude until you need to get something done, and then it's not so great. You know, when someone says, "Oh, I can't do that today because there's up," you know. So
There are a lot of pros and cons, obviously, in terms of entrepreneurship and building something here in Hawaii. I think in terms of the cons, we are isolated. It is difficult to get over to the Bay Area or to a meeting that may be anywhere else except in Hawaii, whether that's for a strategic partner, for investors, potential employees, mentors. I think we're in a great age now where Skype is awesome and Google Hangouts and all that fun stuff. So it's not as big of a impediment as it has been for employee type of things. But we are out there and it's expensive. That's an area of concern. I'd say also we don't have enough serial entrepreneurs here and experienced entrepreneurs who can really help raise that level of entrepreneurship here. Who you kind of think of it. It's not just about that one or two serial entrepreneurs who could actually pull this off. It's about the people that are a couple steps below who get that exposure of working with that serial entrepreneur who can learn quickly and then become those themselves. So it's really about that growing. I'd say there's also an area of challenge where we don't have as many experienced management that can plug in a COO, perhaps, who has traditionally been in more kind of traditional business position in a bank or whatever, consulting company, who's actually interested in switching over and working for a startup. And you're going to see more of that type of thing once our startups become later stage funded, because they can compete with those salary levels. But right now we don't have that. We don't have that kind of group of great experienced management and experienced entrepreneurs that can really raise that level. In terms of pros, I think we have a really supportive community here, and people have always said this in the past, but it's a great place to try something, fail fast, and you're gonna fail and have a really wonderful cushiony place to fall and people are to help you back up. I can't, I was in the Bay Area for a long time, and it's so competitive there. Everybody, has whatever they're doing, plus they're also an entrepreneur. And there's so many layers of getting to people at times where unless you really know people, it is very difficult to get into those circles that can actually do something for you. Here, you pretty much can get a meeting with almost anyone, which is kind of cool. Or there's really 1 degree or half a degree of separation. I think that's really awesome. I think also a great pro is that for once, like, all the stakeholders are actually aligned right now. And I think in the past we've tried to build an innovation sector. It's kind of started and stopped a couple times. And what's different now? Why is there this great momentum happening? It's because the stakeholders are aligned. The university is totally on board, obviously. You look at government. We've seen a lot more positive, things kind of happening in the government side and funding and bills. You look at on corporate is starting to really step up and get more involved. And then, of course, on the entrepreneurial side and education and training, a lot more people are coming here. So I think we've got, a good critical mass, and that ultimately is what creates that whole collision and great minds coming together. And there's lots of opportunity for that, especially with places like, Impact Hub coming here, Box Jelly, Rock, the sandbox being built. It's about opportunities for collision, and I think that's a great positive that's happening more here now.
So one of the pros of being an entrepreneur in Hawaii is that I think there's a lot of opportunity of different programs, different models that are happening in different parts of the country or different parts of the world that can be replicated here in Hawaii, but that need to be given a Hawaii twist, and you need to understand how these models could work in local communities. The negative side of being an entrepreneur is the costs are definitely high. The market out here is relatively small, and a lot of times if you are bringing in a new program or a new model, there's a lot of education that needs to happen with that in terms of it just being a new product. So like the idea of a CSA, if you go to the mainland, CSA is very well known, but CSA is relatively new to Hawaii. So one, having the farms understand how that model works, but then also, having the customers understand how that model works as well.
Hawaii, well, a pro obviously is we get to have interviews at the beach. We can go surfing. We see rainbows every day because we don't have to be in the office all day long, and that really keeps your morale and your positivity really high in what you're doing, right? Con is that our device in our office has become our device, and so now I have a cell phone that gets all of these emails and these phone calls, and sometimes I literally just need to sit on a couch or a chair someplace for 2 hours and just be on this tiny little device doing PR. So I mean, that's a con, but on the other hand, I could be sitting in front of the ocean doing it. So it's always with you, and you control how much income you're making. So if you're gonna surf all day long, then you're not going to have as much income as you can have. So there's your balance, is deciding when is a good time to play and when is a good time to work. And when the sun is shining like 90% of the year, it's sometimes hard. I like it when it's raining outside, it forces me to work more, but.
Pros is that I was born and raised here, so I find it a lot easier to do business than maybe other people, because I just understand, I was born and raised here, so I know the people, I know what they like to hear, I know how they like to feel, so I know how to approach them, and that has helped me tenfold. Without that, I don't know if I could do it. For example, I tried to live in San Diego for 3 years, and I don't know if I could make it up there. I'm sure I could try, and I'm sure I would get somewhere, but there's no way I could get as far as I did in a short period of time if I wasn't here in Hawaii and understanding the people that I'm dealing with. I love the people I work with. I really understand them, especially in the farmers markets. A lot of local people here from Hawaii, and I just do business very well with them. So, yeah.
Hawaii, I feel like my company, I'm really lucky to be in Hawaii because it is an international company, and Hawaii has so many international students here. There's so many English schools on the island alone. So we really lucked out there. I also think a huge positive thing about being an entrepreneur in Hawaii is the community here. So unlike the mainland in New York or Silicon Valley, where it's very cutthroat, there's a genuine want to help people within the Hawaii community, and I don't think you get that everywhere else. That being said, Hawaii is very small, so if you're gonna start here, you definitely need to make those connections on the mainland or wherever you wanna go to expand, because the community here can only get you so far.